While most of us can joke that 2020 has been the worst year that any of us have lived through, for those with missing loved ones, it's a terrifying reality. It's hard to imagine what goes through the minds of the family and friends of missing people, especially in such uncertain times. Hopefully, by shedding light on some of these cases, we can help reunite families or raise awareness of events happening in other parts of the world. Anybody with any information on any of these cases is urged to contact the relevant authorities. These are 5 unsolved disappearances from 2020. Number 5. A vulnerable woman from Monroe, Washington has been missing since the end of March. 25-year-old Kenna Harris was involved in a high-speed rollover crash 6 years ago. It left her with multiple head and spine injuries, though after a long process of therapy and rehabilitation, Kenna was leading an almost normal life. The traumatic brain injury she had suffered hindered her mental abilities, though. Her mother later described her as struggling with decision-making and her memory, and she would act like someone 10 years her junior. Despite this, she had a job at a local Walmart and seemed to be relatively happy with her life until the morning of March 31st. Kenna's family described her as anxious about going about her job, and when the DART bus for people with disabilities came to pick her up, she was nowhere to be seen. Kenna's family soon discovered she'd packed a rucksack, taken her yoga mat and daily medication, and left sometime around 11 a.m. She drained her bank account for the $230 she had remaining and took the bus to Snohomish Station. There, she visited a Subway but left without ordering anything. The Subway worker is the last known person to have seen her. Kenna's family reported her missing later that day. It was unlike her to be away from them for such a long period of time, and her family worried that she may have run into trouble. Police searched CCTV from the area where Kenna was last seen, but there was no evidence she even left the city center. It's suspected she may have gotten into a car with somebody she knew, or thought she knew, but at this stage it remains a theory. It's easy to draw this up as a simple runaway case, especially as Kenna had been fighting for more independence in the months before her disappearance. But her case isn't that simple. Only a few days after she went missing, Walmart deposited her paycheck into her bank account and it hasn't been touched. Kenna would have known that she was due to be paid, and it doesn't make sense for her to just leave before this point. A reward of $20,000 is available for information on her whereabouts. Number 4. French exchange student Eloy Holland was living with a host family in New Zealand when he went missing in March of 2020. The 18-year-old had moved to New Zealand in September of last year and had made a few friends at the language school he was attending, but he had grown homesick. Eloy had been planning on returning home to France on March 8th and had been making plans with his friends back home. Early on the morning of March 6th, Eloy left his temporary home in Birkenhead. He wasn't seen by his host family all day, and when he hadn't returned by the evening, they contacted police. Police were able to use CCTV footage and data from Eloy's phone to track his whereabouts on the morning of his disappearance. He had caught a bus to the local train station and from there, traveled by train to New Lynn in West Auckland. He would arrive there at 7:26 a.m. After leaving the train station, Eloy hasn't been seen on CCTV, but his mobile phone data indicated that he was in the area of Piha Road at 9:18 a.m. Police claimed that he walked about 10.5 kilometers, which would have taken him 2 hours, though the evidence for this isn't clear. There hasn't been any mobile data usage since. The West Coast area where Eloy was last seen is known for its stunning landscapes, which Eloy's family say he would have appreciated. He was physically fit and had grown an interest in hiking since moving to New Zealand, so it's possible this was simply a hiking trip gone wrong. However, Eloy's family have hope that he's still alive. There was a reported sighting at a campsite not long after the disappearance, though police claim there is no evidence to suggest that this was Eloy. An extensive land and sea search of West Auckland took place over the following months, but no trace was found of the teenager. Number 3. One of the biggest problems with missing persons cases is trying to determine whether or not a person wants to be found, especially in less publicized cases. That's the issue some web sleuths have run into when investigating the disappearance of 21-year-old Ernestine Pearson. Ernestine was 7 months pregnant when she went missing from her home in Detroit in March. She was last seen walking towards a gas station wearing a multicolored bonnet, a black hooded sweatshirt, and black and white pajama pants. Her phone and other possessions, including her purse, were found at her home, leading most to believe she'd either gone to the gas station to meet up with someone, or simply because she felt in danger and wanted to be in a public place. Even so, it still doesn't make sense why someone 7 months pregnant wouldn't take her cell phone, just in case something happened. Besides the initial reports in March, there hasn't been much in the way of media coverage. While sadly this isn't uncommon for many African Americans who go missing, it's surprising that her family hasn't been part of the push for more publicity. This has led some to suspect that Ernestine intended to disappear. It's possible she felt the need to escape from her old life, and she and her baby are somewhere safe. However, this doesn't explain why she's still listed as a missing person by local police, as someone in that situation would likely contact police to let them know that she didn't want to be found. A final piece to the already confusing puzzle came in a comment on the Detroit Police Department Facebook post appealing for more information. A woman claiming to be the manager of the place Ernestine used to live left a comment asking anyone who is in contact with the missing woman to tell Ernestine to contact her, as she had mail addressed to her. She added she wouldn't pass on the mail to anyone but Ernestine. A month later, she confirmed Ernestine had been found. However, when web sleuths inquired, police still claimed she was missing. There are a number of peculiarities in Ernestine's case, and without more information, it's impossible to say whether or not she's in any danger. Hopefully she's safe and can confirm as much to police, but while there is still uncertainty, anyone with information is urged to contact Crime Stoppers. Number 2. Police in the UK are searching for a British diplomat who hasn't been seen since May of this year. Richard Morris had worked in the Foreign and Commonwealth Office for 25 years when he became the British ambassador to Nepal in 2015. He'd had a relatively successful career up until that point and was previously head of the Pacific Department. His 4 years as ambassador to Nepal went without controversy, and he was due to be made British High Commissioner to Fiji in July. Before the appointment could be made, he went missing while on a run near his home in Hampshire. Richard was known to enjoy long-distance running, so when he left his home on the morning of May 6th, it wasn't a cause for concern. However, when he didn't return home, his wife alerted police and a search ensued. Police used drones and sniffer dogs to try to find Richard and searched more than 9 square kilometers of land, including the Alice Holt Forest and along nearby railway lines. No trace of the 52-year-old could be found. Police were cautious about getting the public involved in the search, partially due to current circumstances making a normal search party dangerous, and partially because they didn't want local people disrupting police work. They asked residents to only search their own land and outbuildings, but asked people to look out for any signs of sheltering that could indicate Richard had been in the area. They also appealed for CCTV or dashcam footage that may help them trace his last movements. Officers viewed hours of CCTV footage from homes and businesses along the common running routes, but again, there was no sign of the missing man. It's possible this could indicate Richard had gone out for a run, but it seems unlikely Richard would willingly disappear off the face of the planet. He had no known family issues and was looking forward to his new role. Additionally, it's unlikely he would have gone unnoticed in this time, as the distinctive port wine stained birthmark on his face would make it easy for someone to identify him. Police say there is no sign of foul play, but until there's any progress in the investigation, it can't be ruled out. Number 1. So I give my apologies for this awful pronunciation, but I'm gonna do the best that I can. A political activist named Wanchaliarm Satsaksit was abducted in broad daylight from the streets of Cambodia and hasn't been seen since. but for the sake of this video, we'll refer to him as W. A Thai national, W had spent over a decade campaigning for pro-democracy causes in his homeland. To begin with, he primarily focused on gender and LGBT rights, but his goals soon shifted to broader calls for an end to the dictatorship his country was under. When another military co-op took place in May of 2014, W's fight for democracy had made him well known, and a target for the new dictator. Not long after this, he was called to attend a military camp, and took that as a signal that he needed to get out of the country. Like a lot of activists, he was forced into exile in a neighboring country, and settled down in the suburbs of Cambodia's capital. While in the relative safety of exile, he continued to speak out against the government. He regularly posted criticisms of the new prime minister on his Facebook page, and also posted satirical videos. This only made authorities more determined to punish him for his dissidence. In particular, it was deemed that he'd breached the Computer Crimes Act by damaging national security or causing a panic. They also made it clear that W was outside the Thai police's jurisdiction, but that wouldn't stop them from pursuing him. On the afternoon of June 4th, he was walking near his new home while talking to his sister on the phone. He stopped at a stall to buy meatballs, and while he was paying, a group of armed men bundled him into the back of an SUV. The final words his sister heard from him was the phrase, "I can't breathe," which has since become a rallying cry for activists wanting justice. A few witnesses attempted to help W, but were warned by the armed men to stay back. CCTV from the nearby apartment building showed the SUV speeding away. W hasn't been heard from since. The international community has condemned both Thailand and Cambodia for their actions and their inactions. Cambodian officials have denied any involvement in the abduction, but various statements from the authorities make it hard to believe this is the case. W's visa to Cambodia allegedly expired in 2017. The government at first claimed he left the country at that point, despite the CCTV evidence saying otherwise, and they've denied that they have any reason to investigate. W is one of 9 Thai pro-democracy activists that have gone missing since 2014. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to click that like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell to keep up to date with all of our future uploads. But I've been Ty Knotts, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.